Hello, Ashford. My name is Ben Gauthier, and this is Promoting Awareness and Wellness in Students. The Association for the Study of African American Life and History, ASALH, is an organization founded by Carter G. Woodson in 1915 to promote, research, preserve, interpret, and disseminate information about Black life, history, and culture to the global community. ASALH has selected the Crisis in Black Education as their 2017 theme in order to focus on the crucial role of education in the history of African Americans. This February, we had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Newton Miller, Program Chair in the Department of Education Studies at Ashford University. We asked him for his reaction to the 2017 theme, what he sees as the responsibility of a Program Chair in relation to this theme, and to tell us about his research at Ashford University. Welcome to Pause. Recognizing that the ASALH 2017 theme is an attention grabber, we asked Dr. Miller for his thoughts and perceptions of the theme, the crisis in Black education.
As you know, in American history, we had a thing called slavery. And during slavery time, they weren't allowed to read or write. Around the 1960s, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X began to dive into that and let people know that education was a gateway to opportunities. It's the teeth to making dreams, goals, and aspirations happen. It brings self-worth to a person. And once a person has self-worth, then they can no longer be enslaved. Their mind is free. Now, in my life, all the inequities that I've experienced, they've been balanced by education. Not the degrees I have, but the information in the degrees and my ability to communicate it and use it to command change. So access to resources and inequity, they are issues, but embracing the power and the purpose of education, that's at the core of the crisis of education in the Black community.
As a program chair in the Department of Education Studies here at Ashford University, we asked Dr. Miller how his role relates to the crisis in Black education.
The thing we have to understand about educators is that they have life experiences and different things that might add to their ability to be more inherently competent with one subgroup or one population more than the other. So as educators, we have to be willing to become students of man so that we basically get an education so we can give an education. Now, in my position here at Ashford, I do two basic things when it comes to the crisis in Black education. I identify gaps that hinder mastery in academic attainment. And secondly, I connect professional development to the faculty that serve with me to close those gaps educationally and socially. The premise is this: if you can't relate, then you can't educate.
Having recently conducted research exploring the factors that contribute to success for men of color in online higher education environments, we asked Dr. Miller to talk about some of his findings. Before
the data, we found three common pillars that contributed to the thinking of the men of color in the study. And we had about 1,300 participants. So the three pillars we found was first that they all had a positive experience at the university, whether it was academics or advising or support services. Secondly, they were all committed to very specific intrinsic goals. They kept their goals right in front of them, and they wouldn't let them move out the way. They drove towards those goals at all costs. And thirdly, they let their responsibilities be their motivators. So those that were depending upon them weren't weights to them, they were motivation to them. There were some strategies they found. I'll share a few of them. One of them was they blocked time. Another thing that they did was they previewed their courses. So as soon as they had access to the course, they looked at everything in the course so they can see where they thought they would have difficulty, or see where they thought it would be easy, so they could better divide their time and get resources and help where they thought they would need it. And finally, they created informal cohorts, which means that, and the cohorts, by the way, weren't all just men of color or all men. They were very diverse. They were female, men. They were all races and colors and creeds. But what they did was they lined their courses up. They met in the course and they lined their courses up with advisors, so they were taking the same courses in the same sequences. So they supported each other throughout the course. They helped and motivated and stood in the gap for each other. And I thought that was ingenious.
With education at the forefront of many parents' minds, Dr. Miller talks about advocating for equity in education within our local communities.
Well, I'm a follower of Jeffrey Canada. He's the founder of Harlem Children's Home, and he has a theory. He says Superman's not coming. And there's also Booker T. Washington, the founder of Tuskegee University. Back in the 1800s, towards this turn of the century, he had a theory called the Accommodation Theory. So if you sum up what they're both saying in a nutshell, they're saying really if you don't produce for yourself, then you'll do without. You see, in this day and age, in this political climate where the narrative has been focused on exclusion instead of inclusion, we're going to have some choices to make in our schools and in our communities. We have to advocate by embracing the power and the purpose for education. You see, education is the only institution that will bring opportunity 100% of the time if we embrace her. So the crisis in education is that we haven't embraced the power and the purpose of what it really means in our lives. And that's what we need to do.